the Girl Sis Man podcast.
For the girls we were.
For the sisters we became.
And the women we're becoming. Hello, we're your co-hosts, Paola.
And Esther. And if you're new here, welcome, friends. And happy Valentine's Days, ladies. What? Yes. And fellas, for the fellas that watch, we do have fellas that watch.
Yes.
So happy Palentine's Day, happy Galentine's Days. And for those of you who actually have romantic loves in your lives, God bless you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I'm like, no, seriously. And for those of you who are, just going on dates tonight, just because you want to date, that's also okay. I'm really tired of people villainizing that, by the way. Like, people are like, oh, like, women just want to be taken out that day. And so what? Exactly. Yes, I do.
It's nice.
Yes, I do.
Congratulations.
So long as it's a nice date, exactly. I want to go. It's a day of affection.
Exactly.
I want to celebrate love. I want to pretend like there is someone in the male species who finds me attractive. Is that so bad?
It's not, baby. It's okay. And one day it will be true.
Right?
I believe in it. I believe for both of us that will be very true.
I just feel like Valentine's Day should focus on celebrating all aspects of love, whether it's familial, platonic, romantic. I feel like all love is love.
Love is love is love. And I will say though, I took myself out one Valentine's Day on like a me day. I went home in tears, okay? I was like, well, it's a wrap for me. So I decided to take myself to get my nails done. Everybody and their mama was there because their man was paying for their nails. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. And I pulled out my debit card and I paid it myself. And that hurt me. Anyways, I'm going to the coffee shop. People were out there buying their booze coffees. Who's paying for my coffee? Myself. I'm not saying I want a man just to buy me stuff, but I'm just saying I felt extra lonely that day. And then I went to Panera because I thought, Panera is safe. It's not like a sit-down dinner kind of a place. Everybody and their mom was having dinner at Panera with their boo thing. And then my friend, who is married, was there with her husband. She's like, you want to sit with us? And I sat there and I go, wow, I am third wheeling on a Valentine's Day. And I said, you know what? Never again. So if you're single, try to stay indoors. I'm just saying, I stay indoors. Okay, get your feelings hurt. Listen to Esther.
I disagree. I've taken myself on a Valentine's Day.
On the actual day?
Not on the actual day.
Okay, I'm saying the 13th and the 15th are very easy to go out, do what you want. The 14th, tread lightly.
I mean, because the weekend before or after Valentine's Day, people are, on dates and stuff too.
Yeah.
And I'll just go out. Because okay, so this is weird, but it's not weird. I like to go out when it's a busy night.
Okay.
I just like to feel the buzz of humanity. Like it's just weird. So like
I'm an extrovert. It makes sense.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like even if it's not surrounding me, I like to just be in places. So like I remember I went to a diner because I love pancakes and hot chocolate. I don't drink coffee. I'm a grown woman who only drinks hot chocolate. Anyway, so I went to a diner and I had like pancakes and hot chocolate and people were just around me in love and some people were scrapping a little bit. Like, you're not gonna do this to me again.
At the pancakes house.
Yeah.
At the diner.
Exactly. On Valentine's weekend.
Ghetto.
It wasn't ghetto. That's what love looks like.
No, love can look ghetto, and sometimes it is ghetto.
Listen, I just feel like, and that's also the thing, like, I think Valentine's Day is great because we get to appreciate the highlight reel of love. Like, we're in the honeymoon stage, you're taking me out, you're appreciating me, we're telling each other what we love about each other. But the reality is, love on the day-to-day looks different, right? It grows, it shape shifts, etc. I'm like, and so I was glad to be in kind of the middle of what real love looks like,
Getting cussed out of the diner?
He wasn't getting cussed out. She was just collecting him with her words. That was all.
Interesting. If that's love, I want no parts of it.
Sometimes you got to collect your lover.
Not in public, please. Please.
Well, they was in a booth. You know?
Booth or not, people would hear it. You
listen up.
Listen. But whisper at me. Whisper. You better act right before we do that. But don't actually yell at me out in public because we will break up. I'm like, okay. So I'm gonna get my car. You're gonna get in your car. You're gonna go to your house, and I'm gonna go to my house, and we're never gonna speak again. You're disrespectful.
Wow.
And I don't love you no more. No. But I just feel like, okay, girl, you're gonna wait.
But here's my thing, though. Well, she could have, I suppose. But I'm like, maybe it was like a makeup you know what I'm saying, dinner. You know,
Okay.
like I could see it being one of those.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know what the situation was.
She probably had it. Was like, you're not gonna do this to me again.
She's like, listen. She said, or maybe it was like, you're not gonna bring me to this diner again. You don't know what she was talking about.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you know, as long as she had somebody there who semi-appreciated her. Because it seemed like she felt unappreciated. But at the end of the day, I just like to be out when people are out, when life is buzzing.
Gotcha.
So I didn't mind it. But if you are a little more docile in the heart, perhaps going out that day is not for you. I cannot believe you went home and cried, though.
Girl, the thing is, when you're trying to build up your spirits, you're already down low. And so these events just kept progressively knocking me lower, okay? I'm just trying to fill up the tank and make it where I need to make it, and the gas just keeps depreciating. That's all I'm saying. Maybe you were in a better place than I was at that time. So if you feel brave enough. But all I'm saying is seeing people being showered with flowers and chocolates and love, and you not receiving it, it might make you feel a little bit bitter, but that's okay.
Fair.
Not every Valentine's Day you get a romantic Valentine. You get a platonic one. Maybe your friend or your family members.
Bye, y'all. Let me tell y'all what happened to me. What was like 2 years ago? So like Lola was moving around the weekend of Valentine's Day, and she goes, "Oh, I'll be your Valentine." Now I was like, "Wow, I haven't had a Valentine on Valentine's Day since they made you pair up with someone in middle school."
Okay.
So I'm like, "What?" And you know what's so ironic?
What?
I've never had like a grown-up romantic Valentine. Mm-hmm. I'm totally okay with that, by the way. But like, wow. But anyway, so it was very significant to me that Lola was like, "I'll be your Valentine." So like, the Saturday goes by, it's nighttime, I go over to help Lola move, etc. You know, we were promised food. I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna be like a little dinner date. Then she like hits me up and she's like, "I got you something I think you'd like." I go, ooh. Ooh. She thought of me. And then for a minute I was like, oh my God, like what's it gonna be? Like maybe I'll get her something, you know, based on what she gets me. We'll see.
So it's only contingent.
No, well first of all, I was giving you free manual labor. I bought a full-blown crew to her home. Free labor. That to me was the Valentine's Day gift. Anyway, I come up and Lola gives me this little bag. It's like this little rose chocolate thing full of like candies that I like. I go, oh wow. Like, I'm appreciated, I'm thought of. Then my like siblings and my free labor crew comes through and Lola picks up like 7 more bags. And I was like, oh, I'm a generic hoe. I don't deserve special notice. She's doing this for everyone. And she's like, hey guys. And I'm just looking at her like, I don't want this anymore. Because if it's not special for me, I don't want it. And then she goes like, the next day she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing, it's fine. So glad I was your Valentine. And I was like, so glad out of 48 people, I was also one of them.
Listen, I just felt bad giving you something and all these people were coming to help me out and I'm just like, she just gets a flower.
I just feel like I wish you hadn't said I was your Valentine because you made me feel special. I
set you up
and
then
you took it away. Yeah, and I was like, got it.
But Valentine's in my heart. Like you were my lady that day.
That was not.
Okay. All right.
Because you was telling everybody that it was your ladies. You was showering everybody with the same compliments. You're like, you're beautiful tonight. I'm like, oh, thank you. Zaya walks by. You're beautiful always. And I'm like, Well, but it's okay. It's okay.
I can't make it up this Valentine's Day because you're gonna be in Korea.
I am.
But 2024. If we were alive to see that day, you will be my Valentine. And I mean, unless you got a man. How about this? If we're single, I got you.
We'll make it an official date.
Yeah, yes.
But you know what? I'm hoping that for 2024, I have a romantic Valentine. And like, I'm legit this year. Like, I feel like every year I'm like, ooh, yeah, someone take me out, whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, it's cool, it's whatever. But like, no, like next year's Valentine, I'm like, that's my man's.
Yes.
Like, that's my boyfriend.
I want that too.
I'm like, I'm ready to be back on the market. I am on the market full time. Since I am unemployed full time, I have more time to dedicate to the market.
Yes.
So I'm ready. And I'm going in with all the knowledge that I have learned in the last 27 years.
Okay. Quick question. Are you going back on the apps? No.
I really don't want to.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say no. I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I cut myself off entirely from any opportunity. Mm-hmm. But my goal is that I won't have to. But because I am going to be traveling more this year, I might turn them on in different locations, probably not while I'm home. But maybe while I'm out and about, like I'm going to be coming to Phoenix. Hey, Nat. So I'm going to be coming to Phoenix, so maybe I'll turn it on while I'm in Phoenix. Yeah. Catch a date. I pray he's not a murderer. I will be sending pictures, as I always do for safety. But I want to go back out there and hit the road with my grown-up knowledge.
Okay, I'm excited. What kind of advice do you think you can use now? That now something you were like, okay, 10 years ago I didn't know, but me now, I'm ready for you. I got the for you.
Well, it's actually funny because we posted on our Instagram today, like, what's the worst love advice you've ever gotten? Like, I don't know if I know off the top of my head what's the best advice I've ever gotten, but the worst love advice I've ever gotten was someone telling me not to be too independent, like, because I'm a very independent person. They're like, it's very unattractive that you're so independent. Gotcha. And I was like,
thank you.
So her personality then. You're just unattracted to. They're like, basically.
And also, you can't be too independent. Either you're independent or you're not. It's either you're independent or you're dependent. There's no, like, I've exceeded the level of independent.
I'm at the crosshairs.
Yeah, this isn't Pokemon. You're not going to meet the final boss. Like, either you are or you aren't. And so, I think it's really weird that we tell self-sufficient women you are being too independent. Because that's unattractive. So I want to ask the men, so you want somebody who's going to be like, hey, yo, I don't got money in my bank account. I'm at -$3. You want to send me some money? Oh my God, they're going to cut off my phone bill. Or like, oh, I can't do something without you, because either she's independent or she's dependent. And if she's not dependent on her family, who's she dependent on? You, my brother. And so you got to ask yourself, if you can't claim that on your taxes, why are you so dependent on me? If you're not my wife. Good question. I'm not a red pill person. I just throwing it out there for the whole don't be too independent people.
I mean, like, I remember hearing it, and it took a while for me to grapple with it, and then I was like, well, this makes no sense, because, like, respectfully.
What's too independent? What's an example of
right, and then also, too, I'm like, perhaps I'm too independent for someone who's very dependent, right? Like, you depend on my needing you to feel like a man, or to be validated in your position. And I'm like, and that's not necessarily what I need from you, right? So so that made me realize that's just not my person, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and that's also the thing that I've walked away with. That's one of the best things that I've walked away with, not necessarily advice. It's more so knowing just because we don't work doesn't mean that I'm invaluable or that you're invaluable. It can just be that we just don't go.
Yeah, we're two puzzle pieces that don't fit together. And that's okay.
That's so okay. And people get so distraught, and I get it, especially if you're like going out there and trying to find love. Like, I know like some people be on that journey for love. God bless you. And I'm like, it might be depressing when it seems like multiple people aren't your people. Yeah. But I'm like, I'd rather be shut down 10 times and find the right one. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't gotta fit the right 10. I gotta fit the right one. You know what I'm saying? True. So I'm like, I'm not looking for the majority to like me. I want to be in a minority, particularly of 1-1. So I'm like, yo, like that. It is what it is. So what is the worst dating advice you have ever gotten?
I think I mentioned it once before. Do not seem too interested or overeager. I think there's this idea of like playing hard to get, and I do think there is something to be said about holding your cards close to your chest.
Have a little allure.
I don't want to be alluring. I don't want to be mysterious. I do think there is something about being protective of your space and and also having discernment of not giving yourself away. And I don't even just mean physically, right? Because like if you're telling everybody your feelings, your problems, like you are giving a piece of yourself away. So I do think there's something about like, hey, you just met this person. You don't need to give them all this information.
Your social,
your time,
your trauma.
You don't have to make yourself that available. But I do think it's weird. We're like, oh, if you guys went out on a Saturday, I forgot what it was. Or like someone was like, don't make dates for the weekend because it says that you're too available. And I'm like, but if you work Monday through Friday and the weekends are when you are available and you're mostly available, why can't I be like, hey, I'm available on Saturdays. Let's make it work. And I think that idea of like, you have to play hard to get, I understand the idea of like a mystery, but like if you're playing cat and mouse, it only ends with one way. The cat catching the mouse and then the game is over. And so if I'm not trying to get caught and you're not just trying to play a game, I'm going to make myself available if I like you. Does it mean I'm going to give you all my time?
Well said, but go ahead.
if I'm not going to give you everything of me all at once, but if I like you, I'm going to line you up to win. And if you like me, you're going to line me up to win. So I think that's the worst advice about don't make yourself too accessible or too eager. I think if you like someone, show it. Don't be thirsty. Like, don't be like, hey, good morning, beautiful. And then 2 minutes later, what you doing? How's it going? Come on, don't do that. But like, if you're like, oh, I woke up and you thought about that person, good morning. The world's not going to end. And also, if you think that's weird, someone showing interest in you, you need to see a therapist and you need to figure out your trauma.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was one of the people that had to see a therapist. I am. I'm just going to go ahead and be honest, because people would be like, good morning, beautiful. And I'm like, why are you writing this to me? It's 6 a.m. What is wrong with you?
They just woke up and they want to make sure that their morning was good.
I'm like, I just spoke to you 6 hours ago.
Okay.
Grow up.
You grow up, bestie.
But like, no, but then I was like, ooh, it's giving you have problems with like words of affirmation. And then I realized it's because I've never like openly received words of affirmations coming up. And so then I had to do the work to be like, hey, thank you. Good morning to you too, sir.
Like, doesn't that feel nice? You're like, oh, you thought of me.
Like, yeah. It does.
Let it get a feeling?
No. I mean it. But like, I realized there were genuinely some things like that made me uncomfortable. And that's also the thing, like something else I realized, which made me really, really uncomfortable, was physical touch. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I've been on dates and like, we're just sitting here like this. Like, you're just looking straight ahead there. And then they'll be like,
and you're like, get up.
And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do here?
It's so funny because I used to watch videos about like how to let men know that you like them on the first date, and it is being physically close enough for them to touch you, because it gives them the green light of like, I do like you. Because if we're sitting across from each other and I'm like, so what do you do? But I'm like, oh, what do you do? Okay, you make
scared. I feel unsafe.
And you make a joke, and I'm like, you're so funny. And Esther, this scares you? This scares you? We're gonna up the therapy 2 times a week.
No, honestly, I have like I openly admit I have a problem with physical touch. Okay. My thing is like, when it's people I don't know, I don't like being like in a very close, very shared space.
Gotcha.
Like, I'll give you distance, and as I come to like you more and more, the distance will shrink. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? But give me that distance. It's something I've actively been working on. But holding hands, y'all, used to give me the heebie-jeebies.
Okay.
Like, and then like their hands are sweaty and they're not soft, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Who is getting pleasure from this? And it wasn't me. It wasn't you.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's good to know, be self-aware, what works for you, what your boundaries are, and also what you need to work on, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job, sweetheart.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing.
But let's hear some of your worst, dating advice. And then we pulled it, so let's check it out. Where are either of our phones? Okay. Yeah. So, we're going to keep it anonymous because, anonymity is power.
It's none of nobody's business, so we're going to protect you.
So someone's response is, okay, you're a Scorpio, so you shouldn't fall in love because you would be too passionate. Okay, so I know some Scorpios. Y'all are just some crazy people. Like, just mentally unwell. So I don't know if that's... It's the truth. It is the truth. I don't believe in the signs. I don't believe in those things. It depends. Are you an October Scorpio or a November Scorpio? Because if you're October Scorpio, you might be problematic like Drake. And that's a problem. But if you're a November Scorpio, you need help. And so yes, please operate, tread lightly, do not take unnecessary roads. Listen. That's one half of the podcast. That's one of I agree with said advice. Oh my God. I'm joking. I'm not joking, but I am joking. Continue. She's not joking. But personally, I don't believe in the signs. Mm-hmm. I do know some very passionate people, and sometimes passion can overpower our ability to make, grounded, logical decisions. I have been in the throes of such passion. Gotcha. And so like, maybe don't take that advice, but maybe be like, is there somewhere in my life where I'm displaying maybe more passion than reason, right? And balance it out. But girl, don't pay that man no mind. This has to be a man. This had to be a man, because I can't imagine somebody being like, don't fall in love, girl, because you're crazy. Like, I know I just said that. Let me take it back. Sure, I do
in my heart of hearts, I don't care or believe that you being born between October 20th and November 17th, that means that you're unlovable and that you need help. It was all in joke, all in jest. So yeah, that's some stupid ass advice. If you find love wherever, in a hopeless, hopefully not a hopeless place, wherever you find it, if you're open, receptive, and vulnerable, it should work.
Come on now. All right, so someone else's response goes, the worst advice I've ever gotten is that he's a decent guy, so it might be best to settle.
Okay. Okay. You go first.
No, you go first. I'm very interested, actually, in what you have to say.
I do think that due to the media, due to TV, due to movies, we have a very distorted and unreasonable sense of what love is supposed to look like and how we're supposed to be receiving it. But also, I do think there are plenty of people who are normal. I don't like the word, so I don't have a problem with the word settle. I have a problem with how people use it. I think when people hear settle, they're just saying you need to take yourself a couple notches down and lower yourself, right? When I think settle, and I don't know how this person meant it, you could go, hey, you had a list of the things that you wanted. I don't know why they said decent. That just sounds like mediocre to me. You know, that's the thing. I understand the sentiment. I just don't like the words. Because if you said he's a good person, I think you should like recognize that he's not perfect. There needs to be some wiggle room. You need to settle. Like if you go to court, two parties are on the opposite side and they settle on an agreement, on a shared decision, then yes. But if they're like, oh, this is as good as you're gonna get, I don't know why you being picky, then fuck no. That's why I was like, I don't know how this person meant it, but if it's like the way I meant it, then I would like to meet the man because I want to make sure he's actually whatever decent is. But if it's the latter, girl, go hit some rocks. Whoever told you that?
Listen,
whoever told you that?
I think the reality is that most people mean it in the second way, and it's not like so very similar how you're saying. Like I think that we have a distorted view of what love is, but I also think a lot of people have a very like they believe that love is unattainable. Like I think that sometimes people be like you're unrealistic in what you want in a relationship, and there are times where you very well can be. You don't got to be 6'2", but if you are, I'd love that, right? So like people are like be more realistic, but I think that the reality is a lot of people settle for relationships because they're like this person is decent and I'm decent. And that's okay for us. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I love this person. I'm passionate. I want to see them grow. I want to build with them. They're like, life is not going to absolutely suck with you. It just won't be great. And I'm willing to do that.
So this is where I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I would like to tweak it. I think about back in the olden days when we were maidens and our fathers picked our husbands. It wasn't about chemistry or how much we liked each other. It was like a sense of duty to your family. Like, oh, you and I are getting together to start a family and continue things. And so I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Not everybody has a romantic love story. And so if for you, marriage is a companionship and the ability to start a family, I could see you saying, okay, well, I like this person good enough. And I know it sounds crazy, but he and I will be good to each other and good for each other. I can see someone saying, okay, this is a good choice for me. Some people are like, I need love, I need passion. And then those people need to find the love of their lives. But what if you never find like that, 1 in a million love, this is my soulmate. Or maybe your soulmate comes when you're 80 years old, right? Like there are people who said, I got married, had my kids, and then my husband passed away. I went to a senior center and I met the real love of my life at 75. Does that mean you should have never been married to that man? So I do think there needs to be some nuance about when we're picking our partners. I also think sometimes love is not just the amorous feelings. I think I've learned that. It's also about like, okay, this person is there for me and shows me that they're responsible for me, and so I'm going to reciprocate that.
I love that last line you just said. I was literally just talking to my friend the other day, my friend Tiara actually, and we were talking about how love is a responsibility, right? But I disagree with your overall assessment, not the whole thing. Because I think that love is first and foremost a responsibility to self.
Yes.
And for me, I can only speak from the I, because you're right. Not everyone needs that 1 in a million love, that soulmate, right? But for me, I I believe that I can't be a good partner to you if my eye is always wandering for that 1 in a million. Because I'm like, you know, when the person that you are with inspires you, respects you, honors you, holds you up, vice versa. Like, it's someone who is genuinely invested in your well-being, and like you love them outside of just your obligation to love them and be responsible to them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that settling though is, it becomes work. It's not necessarily something I'm passionate about. Like, you know the saying where it's like, oh, you know, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I feel like that can apply to marriage, right? When you love the person you are with, it'll feel like work, but you'll never hate it. When it's someone you settle for, it is work from the day you walk in to the day you pass away. Like, that is someone you are working to just deal with, to bear with.
I mean, I feel that way about certain family members. I'm not trying to be, I love my family, but there are people who I know it is going to be a job the rest of my life. And so I feel like so what I'm saying is, I hear what you're saying. And I agree that there are plenty of people, and in this scenario, it's mostly women of a certain age, because we were hounded about, like, when are you settling down?
And you have the biological time clock and everything.
Listen, I'm 28. I feel it. I feel the heat. So I understand what you're saying. Like, you don't want to hear your friend, like, I want to get married. They get married, and it's like somebody who's
like, say for example, like for yourself, for example, I'm like, you marry a man, and so many of this happens to women. Like, women are now out earning so many of their partners, especially women of color.
Yes.
Like, they're really doing the damn thing. They're beautiful. They're educated. They're well paid. And because like they're running against time, they marry someone who doesn't have the same education level, which is really okay, but like, they don't have the same values. This person doesn't respect them. This is literally just a human body.
But what I'm saying is, I get what people are doing in the name of settling, but I don't think the idea of settling is really what the actions we've given to the definition shouldn't match up, right? So like, I think about my family relationships, I think about my friendships, I think you're a wonderful person. I think there are so many great things about you. There are some things that I'm like, I could do without, but because you are my friend, it's not that I'm like, oh, I'm settling, I'm knocking myself down a peg. I'm like, she's a human being. She's not perfect. And so there are certain things I'm like, okay, this I might not like, but look at all these wonderful things that she's working on. I can deal with this. I can settle on this because I know you're worth my time.
But keywords, you know you're worth my time. Like, you see me and I see you in a level of esteem and of high value.
And that's what I'm saying is that.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people marry people that they do not set in esteem and high value.
But is that the fault of the definition of settling, or the people who do things that they're
not? But that is the new connotation, and I see what you're saying. But that's the connotation that we're talking about of settling.
About themselves, about why they're settling though, because like, I'm not trying to be rude. I think it's odd that people pick people they genuinely do not like to settle with.
I know so many.
That's weird to me. Okay, you don't even like this person. Now it'd be different if you're like, I'm telling you this because it could be us where I'm like, what if I don't meet the love of my life, a man who gives me all these butterflies, but I meet somebody, he intrigues me, we have great conversation, we like kissing each other, and we grow this love and all this other stuff, but he passes away, and then 5 years down the line, I meet this man who gives me the fireworks that I had not with this other person. Doesn't mean that I didn't love that person anymore, but at this time, this was the right person for me. I do think there's something to be said about people picking people, who you don't like, who don't like you,
who don't respect you,
and you don't respect them.
You guys are not invested in each other's growth.
That's very weird. That sounds like you're just grasping at straws and you're just trying to see what can stick. But I think it's very different if you're like, okay, this person, I'm looking at them as a human being. They're a good person. They're a good, viable candidate. I like spending time with them. I really do enjoy their company. I can see me building a family. And then you get married. You love each other. And then there are people who are so in love today, and they're not having sex 7 years down the line. They're sleeping in separate bedrooms, or this man is living in this country, and I'm living over here. There are people like that. And they started very much in love. And so what I'm saying about settling, I do think there are times in your life where you go, this person's a good person. It's not what I imagined. It's not what I imagined, but it's good for me. And I can say yes to this. Not because I don't think I can get anything better, but because I know this is a good thing for me. It just didn't look like what I expected it was supposed to look like.
I think that is fine. But I don't think that's the definition of settling that the person was saying for her.
Gotcha.
And I think that what it is that a lot of women are told, that person's a good human being.
Yeah.
Like, He's not beating you. He may be 1'2", but whatever.
Okay, so and that's why I said if that's how she meant it, she can go kick some rocks. Because that is, first of all, it's not fair to you, but it's also not fair to that other person. I think sometimes we forget. We keep saying, oh, I'm settling with this person. That's disrespectful to that other person. Because what if they really liked you and they're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be in this relationship.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, and eventually that person becomes bitter. You know what I'm saying? And it's resentment that builds because it's like, I've invested so much in you and you very clearly do not care about me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, you have to be not only just equally yoked spiritually, because everyone's always like, you gotta be equally yoked, you gotta be equally yoked. You gotta be equally yoked, I feel like, emotionally. Like, you have to both be invested in one another. And so when, like, even when I say I'm like, back on the market and all these things, I'm like, that is something that I want to respect everyone's time, right?
Yes.
So, like, I get judged a lot for being like, I'll go on one date and be like, it's not gonna happen. Like, we're good.
I'm like that. I'm like, this is not my husband.
This is not the person.
This is not for me.
I'm like, and it's just because there are certain, like, behaviors and things that, like, literally I had a conversation with one guy. Super sweet person. He said absolutely nothing wrong with the whole conversation. He was like giving me his 5-year plan. And I was like, wow, like you are a great person. That sounds like a great 5-year plan for you.
Not for me.
But I said I would be miserable all 5 of those years. I would hate to be your partner all 5 of those years. And I would be doing you a disservice if I stayed just because you're a nice guy and you're handsome and we look great together and financially we're yoked and, you know, spiritually we're yoked, but literally like I don't want to invest in you. I'm not interested in life with you. And I think that people really have to be fair in assessing that. But a lot of people, unfortunately, are not. Like, they lack the self-awareness to say...
Well, I think also there's this push on women to, like, accept men because of certain qualities. Like, oh, he's not super handsome. You don't find him physically attractive. But look at all these wonderful things. If this person don't pique your interest... He don't pique your interest. And that's
it.
That's it.
And there's no further conversation.
Oh, no,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a lot of the times women have to justify why they don't like someone. Like, you ever tell someone, hey, I'm not interested, thank you so much, and they're like, why? And I'm like,
don't be so hasty. And I'm like, first of all, I just told you, I just don't like it.
I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like I have to justify my answer.
If someone says, oh, you want to go eat this restaurant? No, I don't like that type of food. Then like, well, why don't you just try it? I don't like it. Actually, it's a lie. Because we have a friend who told us she didn't like a specific type of food. I'm like, why don't you like it?
It is true.
But I do think, I think in that sense, no, we do not settle. I just mean down the line, if you meet somebody, piques your interest, y'all are going good.
But that sounds like love that builds. Like, you're talking about love that builds. But I think that we're talking about you're just picking somebody for the sake of having a warm body.
No, don't do that. But I do think when it's time to pick your mate, like your man's, and your man's, I think there shall be some settling. I think it is weird if you end up with somebody who's like, these are things that I will not settle on. That person is a narcissist, manipulative.
No, there are certain things I feel like you should have boundaries
I think there's certain things that are... I think certain things that make sense. Like, I'm not going to bend on this, but if you're with somebody who never settles on certain things, I think in the long run, you're going to be like, this person's not flexible.
Okay, and that's fine. But also, too, like, I want to make sure that we're using the word settle in the context that they brought it up in. So I would say that word is compromise. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to compromise to be successful. We're 2 human beings who are bringing a life or deciding to bring 2 lives together. There's going to be compromises to be made. But I should not compromise my general interests, my physical attraction and all these things.
Yeah. Have you ever had this problematic thing where you met with somebody, were not interested, and then someone else was interested in them, and then like it piqued your interest? You're like, wait a second, let me run that back.
Yes. And I think that it's natural, and I think that we have to be... I think that that's like Animal Kingdom type stuff. Like, because that person was interested in you, and you were like, no thanks. And then somebody else is like, oh, I'm interested now. And you're like, what do you mean?
It's your brain goes like, why are you interested? Let me try this again. Is that what happens? Or you're just like, no, once I'm interested in this person, no one else can be interested in them.
I mean, for me, like, and I work on it genuinely. If I'm not interested in you, I'm not interested in you. So whoever finds interest in you, God bless y'all, be happy. Like, that's a legit thing for me. But I do understand, like, my sister, for example, gives a really great example. Like, you'll date a man that nobody was interested in, and then all of a sudden when you start dating him, everyone is interested in him. And it's like, sometimes it's just because I think people want what you want. Like, but they only want it when you have it. Which really just means that they just don't want you to have it. Because they didn't even want it. But now that they see you with it, it's like toddlers. Like when they see somebody else playing with the toy that they were neglecting the whole time.
They're like, hey, that's mine.
And they're like, now it's mine. And I think that's just like base level instinct.
Not that you should revisit it. Just, it's okay. I was talking to a friend once about, she asked me, do you believe that a man should love you more than you love him? Because that's something that people have talked about. What do you think before I give you my answer?
So I think yes.
Okay.
And I say this because I think that women naturally love, like we're very much the nurturers, the givers. So when what we receive, we multiply. Like you ever heard that? Like you give a woman, you know, a house, she makes it a home. You give her a seed, she makes it a child, etc.
Gotcha.
I think that men though it can grow, it doesn't grow the way it grows in women.
Gotcha.
So I want a man who is enamored with me.
Okay.
And I will love him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I want him to be enamored with me because with men it's so very different.
I get what you're saying. So I told my friend, I said, I don't want a man that's more in love with me than I am with him. I think this because if there's ever an imbalance, someone is never gonna. You can't. How do I say? If I cherish something more than you do, you're not going to treat it the way that I do. So I want a man who's enamored with me, but I need to be equally enamored with him because I'm telling you, if you like me more than I like you, it's not gonna work. But I agree with why people say that. I told her, I said, when a man don't like you, there's nothing.
The disrespect has no bounds.
It's not even that. It's the fact.
The lack of interest, everything.
Listen, a woman, and it's the way we're taught. Like, if you are invited to the home of a woman, she'll cook for you, not because she likes you. She knows, I have people coming. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to give you food. Do you want some water? There is just home training that we give women that makes them feel like, I'm caring of you. Mm-hmm. If you go to a house to a man that doesn't like you, you are going to have to ask, can I have a bottle of water? And they'll be like, sure, there's in the refrigerator. Like, you know what I mean? So I understand. I do believe a man needs to be in love with you. If that man don't love you, you need to not even look. Like, it's not even like I think if you don't know he loves you,
that part,
you need not to be with that
Let
man.
me tell you something. It's very, very clear. I feel like love is very crystal clear. Like you either appreciate me, you are interested in me, etc., or you are not. And I was like, it's not a state of confusion. And so whenever that's one thing I'm not doing in this new era of dating. Yeah. I'm not guessing.
Well, no.
There's no guesswork. Like, if I had to guess whether or not you like me,
then you don't.
Then you don't. You don't like me enough. How about I'll say that? Because you could like me, but you don't like me enough. And I'm going to need you to like me a little bit more for me to reciprocate at any other level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, I'm too old to be like, is he going to text me? Or like, hey, I told you didn't text, or maybe you didn't have signal, whatever. I'm not doing all of that, bro. Like, if you are interested in me, you will be present. Like, I don't have to guess.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
No, of course, and I agree. And that's why when I told her, I said, I want to be as equally in love with this man as he is with me. Again, he has to be in love with me. I'm not doing this whole, I literally need you to be enamored of me, but I also have to reciprocate it. Because I also feel like, I think it would break my heart if I was in love with somebody and someone's like, let's measure it, and it turns out I love them more than they love me. And I think about that to my partner, like, how can I look at someone who I've decided to spend the rest of my life and go, you love me more than I love you? That's like a really fucked up thing to say. Like, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Just the concept of like, we have to, I want people to have love, but I also think it's weird when we start doing these things like, he better love you more because if he doesn't, that means equal disrespect. Why can't y'all just love each other? Like, why can't we find
I see what you're saying. I really, really do. I just feel like, and maybe it's just because how I was brought up, I just feel like women, again, women can be grown to love. You know what I'm saying?
I think also we pick horrible partners, and so we've had more women who pick men who don't love them. Yeah. So all we keep saying is, oh my God, if you don't find someone who's more in love with you, like so enamored, you've done the wrong thing, because we end up picking people who don't love us.
Period. Yeah.
Period. And so what you do is the opposite. I need all the love. It needs to be on, and it should be on 10. But you should, and I think also, when women do love, it is knee deep.
That's what I'm saying.
Knee deep.
Like
a man will cheat on you several times, and you're like, he loved me. A man get cheated on once, and he's like, as much as I love you, Harlot, get out.
You know what it is? But that's what it comes back to when it comes to love as a responsibility that is first and foremost to yourself.
Yeah.
Because men have, and I hate to say it like this, but men have the dignity and the self-appreciation to be like, I care for you, but what you've done is unforgivable, and you need to go.
And they stick to their words. They don't play around.
They don't mince words.
I said what I said.
1 minute ago, I love you, and then it's BDG tweeting, talking about all these girls are the same. They are so quick with it.
Yeah.
It is not a matter of do they still have feelings for you. For sure, like their feelings are so present, but like they love themselves enough to know that they're not going to tolerate certain behaviors. And I wish women would be the same.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really do. And you know what it is? It's funny because I was talking to my friend not too long ago, and we had a conversation about, you know, re-entering the market and how that looks like, you know, now that we're looking for, like, real husband material. And one of the things we talked about was, like, just to be earnest, I was like, I think for a while I didn't recognize I was afraid to be in a relationship. And I was also afraid of men, right? But then as we were peeling back the layers in this conversation, we like landed on, it's not that I'm afraid of men or I'm afraid of relationships. I am just afraid of how I've allowed myself to be treated, and I'm afraid to give myself, you know, that same level of neglect in a relationship. Like, I never want to do me like that, because he would not have treated me like that if I didn't accept that from him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do agree, because like, it wouldn't get so far if you stop it. Because, like, you can try to disrespect me one time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. You gotta ring the chopper on you. Like, it's very much that. So I get it. I definitely hear you.
So that is something that I recognize. And so because of that, I'm now like, I am going into relationships with an obligation to love myself first and foremost. And so respectfully, if a boundary is crossed, immediately I have to assess if it's even worth being in this area. And that depends how far the boundary is, right? Because sometimes you have little boundaries like no PDA in public. I'm not gonna dump you over that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you cheat on me, we don't even need to have a conversation. Like, I really appreciate all the time, sir, you brought much pleasure, but it's gonna be a no for me.
It's a wrap.
Like, that's a non-negotiable. And I think that it's so important that we not only have non-negotiables, but that we stand by our non-negotiables. Because I'm like, I think, and I agree with what you said, I think that women have long-standing been like choosing men who are not loving them the way that they need to be loved.
Who actively dislike you. Actively dislike you.
You know what my friend BB said? My friend BB said, when a man cheats on you, he is literally saying he hates you. Because that man is not only jeopardizing your health physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. This man is out to destroy you. Like, no, seriously. Because this person has to know that this is going to hurt you in every single possible way. So when you are doing this, it's an act of violence, of vitriol against me. And I cannot forgive violence against me.
No.
I hate to sound so dramatic, but that's how I see it.
And you know what I think too, and I agree. I think some men will be like, no, it doesn't mean that I don't love you. I believe in you do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. So if you tell me, young man, that if your wife comes back like, hey, yo, I slipped, I was talking to my ex, and you know,
things happen,
and then you, as a good conscience, go, you promise me you don't love this man, or we're gonna. If you could tell me that's what you're doing, then we could talk. But you know for a fact, you're like, okay, you want a box, or do I just throw it out the window, all your clothes? Because what you're not gonna do, Jezebel, is do what you did and come back here and think that's all gonna be handy. No, it's not cool. We're not okay. Get out.
And my thing is, like, a lot of the times too, I think that we're knocked for being like, oh, like your standards are too high. And I'm like, if the standard is do not cheat on me, and if that is too high a standard, then I'm gonna need a long jumper. I'm gonna need somebody who could make the jump. I'm like, those are not high standards. And that's also the thing, like, we've had this conversation previously last season, which is like discussing what standards are high and whatnot. Like, your standards are your standards, and they deserve to be respected. And if the only the person who goes out of their way to meet your standards is likely the person who is making the effort to be your life partner. And that is the person I would encourage you to consider.
I think a lot of people, I shouldn't say most people, will take advantage of someone who they know loves them more than they love them.
Yes, that's true.
And that's what I mean by I don't like the imbalance that there is, because it leaves for people to be abused. And that's why some men will cheat over and over again, because they know this person loves me so much
that she's going to tolerate it.
She's going to put her dignity on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to things that need to be in order.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm like, there needs to be a balance, but you know, do pick people who like you, who love you, who adore you.
Like, I think it's so important, because at the end of the day, and I think that we've had this conversation as well, like, you should be friends with your husband. In my opinion, you should be friends with your partner. And I say this because, like, I feel like you get to know someone wholly when you look at them as the holistic person, not just, you know, romantic partner. I want to go out with you and be like, yo, it's about to be a good ass time. Like, we're going to hit Anime Con or whatever. Like, it's a similar hobby, whatever. Things we genuinely like and can connect on. Because, like, you're going to hang out with me more than you do your boys. That's just a fact. You know, I'm going to sleep with you. I'm waking up with you. We're spending more time together. Right. And I'm like, and so I want us to enjoy the time we spend together outside of just the romantic intimacy of it all. I want to appreciate you as a person for all that you bring to the table.
You see, you're making a lot of sense today. And I'm gonna say something crazy.
Wait, hold on now, that was something crazy. You said today like I don't always make sense.
No.
She said you're making a lot of sense today. You see how she punctuated that one?
No. Today in this moment, like right now, light bulb. You're always like, you should have more male friends. For what reason? And the way you explained it, I'm like, well, maybe my goal for single Paola is like have more male friends.
Do it.
And just male friends. I'm not doing nothing with nobody.
Absolutely.
Just simply platonic.
I think that is a great idea. I think that when you have friends of varying sexes, you have more of an ability to glimpse perspective as to how they see things. And not that like one man speaks for them all and one woman speaks for them all, but because you might understand like, hey, this is just how they move and operate. It's not personal, like whatever.
It is what it is.
It genuinely for them is what it is.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. I also think though, I feel like it's really important to note before we wrap up, that something I detest when it comes to love is how it's been portrayed in movies and stuff. And I say this because I think a lot of us have a hard time picking people because the movies have told us, oh, you should have tension in the beginning. Like, you ever see the rom-coms where they hate each other in the beginning and then they're in love by the end of it? And I'm like, no, girl, you hate that man for a reason. He don't cover his mouth. He piss all over the seats. I'm like, you know, like, those might see, look, he disrespects you and other women in the office. He calls everybody honey and slaps you on the ass when you're making copies of paper. Those are bad traits in a person.
Oh yeah, those tropes like enemies to lovers, like. I'm
like, nah, girl. And then in real life, you start dating a man who was actually your enemy. In real life. And that man is literally abusing you in everything but in his fist.
He don't like you.
This is not a man who respects you. I'm like, stop playing with me, bro. Like, to each their own. I'm sure it's happened once or twice, which is why it's a popular trope. But I'm like, please stop pushing that the people that we have friction with because we dislike them are the people that we should investigate dating with. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think so. I also feel like we have to be very, very careful when it comes to the trope of opposites attract. That is also a very dangerous narrative. I'm like, you actually have to be fundamentally the same. Let me tell you why. Your values, your belief, the core, the parts of you that make up the individual, they should be in alignment with this person. It can't be like faith is like 80% of who I am, and you're like, I'm agnostic or I'm an atheist. Baby, it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Like, my belief system, my values, they are derived from this source. You know what I'm saying? Of course. So this whole, we're the opposite. It's not gonna work, baby. Like, it's not gonna, like, please be very, very careful with that.
I think most people, outside of like physical attractiveness, the second thing that they're looking for is agreeableness. Like, how well we get along. If y'all opposites, what you getting along about? What you talking about?
And at first, I think the allure is, because I've done this, I'm giving y'all my personal experiences. I have done the opposites attract thing. And I'm like, oh, I like it because I'm learning things from their perspective and I'm learning something new. And then I'm like, but I don't want to go to bed learning something new that I got to grapple with on the inside of me asking existential questions. I'm like, nigga, I just want to go to bed.
It's not even just about like what you believe in faith. Yes, it's very important, but also just personality-wise. If you're a type A, very rigid, anal person who gets upset with, someone being late or untimely or someone like moving things out of order, not putting it back, people who are opposite of that are going to irritate you.
Right, and it's going to feel disrespectful at some point, which is crazy. Like, one of the dates that I went on, this one guy was like, yo, my biggest pet peeve is people who are not on time. And I looked at him like, baby, you found the wrong one. I have not been on time for anything ever.
I'm always on time to be late.
Literally, I'm on time to be late. Like, I tell people, ask Lola, I tell all my friends, if we say 12:30, I will be there no later than 1:30.
Yes.
Like, we have to lie to me about time. And part of it is cultural. Okay? No one's going to come to me on that one because part of it is cultural. All right? These Haitians reckless with the time. To the point in which I went to a wedding once and the invitation said 5 p.m. is when it was starting. You know these Haitians were pulling up at 7? And what's crazy for her is like when it's a venue and stuff, like you actually, you're paying for that. So she was like, oh no, we can't start it. There was like 20 people at that ceremony. And there was maybe 200 plus at the reception.
Listen, I will say this. If I invite you guys to whatever...
Just don't write the real time on the invitation.
No.
I prepared to do that. Like for my wedding, I wanted to be an evening wedding. I'm gonna go 4 p.m. because I know they're coming for 5:30.
Gotcha.
This way they can be seated by the ushers, etc. Gotcha. I'm gonna have hors d'oeuvres going around, what have you. Okay. But the ceremony finna start at 6, and that was always the plan. It's just gonna be different. Like,
gotcha. Smart girl.
But you're absolutely right. For the things that do matter to you, like personality-wise, you are anal, you are high maintenance, and I think those are bad words. And no one's ever gonna say, "Oh, I'm anal and high maintenance," but I know a lot of anal and high maintenance people, and there's nothing wrong with y'all. It's okay. Own that. Also, own who you are going into the dating field. Okay. But like, it can't be opposites attract.
Yeah, you can't be with a free spirit who's gonna like, hey, we're gonna go and live in Bali for 1.5 years and live off our savings, and we'll figure out when we come back. You're gonna be like, no, absolutely
that's just not. I'm not gonna do that.
Like you could do that by yourself, but me over here, no.
And that's what I'm saying. You're looking for a partner in life at the end of the day. So make sure you find someone who is actually like, you know what I'm saying, who actually is in alignment with who you are and is in alignment with your goals and your vision. That's a huge one. And what blows my mind is like, this is a real problem, is that people don't have those conversations anymore about like, what do you want in like life? And everyone is like, oh, I just want to be loved and I want to have a family one day. But like, what does that look like for you? Like my friend Bibi, for example, she's really into like the tiny house movement. Like she doesn't want to own like a piece of land.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me tell you something right now. If a man told me he wanted a tiny house, you can get your tiny house out of here. I'm like, well, you could go.
Like I've seen what I needed to see.
And I'm telling you, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need a backyard, all right? I like to host people. Yeah. We can't do that if we're rolling around our house in the back of a pickup truck. We're just not going to be that family.
Gotcha.
Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, it has to make sense. So, like, talk about your visions in detail. Yeah. Because then also, too, when you do that, for the compromises that do have to come down the line, it can be like, babe, you know I wanted a real house. I can't roll around in an RV. Yes. It's a non-negotiable. And this person could be like, oh, I wasn't misled. Because let me tell you, people be feeling misled.
Oh, for sure.
All right? And I'm like, ain't nobody gonna mislead y'all in love. And that's why y'all can't fall in love. Walk into love eyes wide open. It is not blind. All right? Please walk into it eyes open. And please remember that your first responsibility in love is to yourself.
It is.
All right? So do yourself the honor, the justice, and give yourself the dignity that allows you to pick a partner that is worthy of you. As a matter of fact, because sometimes we don't hold ourselves in such high esteem, and that's also the part that I was going to mention, because sometimes we don't hold ourselves in the highest esteem, I say aim for someone who you consider really highly. Okay. And like, it may not be loving, like it may not be the same as picking someone who loves you more, but this way you have someone you regard highly, and you know that if they pick you, like you are also regarded highly. Like it makes you level up, in my opinion. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense.
I feel like for some people they're gonna be like,
no, I get it. If you're saying, if you find someone who, not just on face value, but generally with everything, you find admiration in them, it's because of the caliber of their person. And only a good person of that caliber could find another person of that same caliber.
Right, that's what you're trying to say. Exactly.
Like birds of a feather flock together. You pick somebody, and you know, in picking them, inherently you're saying, you are a good, great person of high value, and you picking me inherently says the same of me.
Exactly. And you know what? And it goes to say too, like there was this guy on TikTok who was saying that your family, your future family, the family that you pick is a reflection of you, because you're born into your original family and then you pick your second family if you're will, you know, if God blesses you. Yes. But you pick your second family, and that's a reflection of you. So y'all can't be out here bad, beautiful, educated, making your bags, and then picking somebody who does not reflect that. You know what I'm saying? God-fearing, all these beautiful, amazing things, and then y'all go and pick somebody who does not reflect that at all. Like that, it says that you don't see that level of worthiness and value in yourself. Unfortunately, like I feel like that's what it says about you. And it's a judgment-free zone, safe zone. If y'all disagree, feel free to let us know in the comments, because as y'all know, we're trying to engage.
I'm gonna need some more comments. I'm gonna need a hello, some emojis.
Like that, those leather pants are cute on you, Esther. It's giving thighs. It's giving legs. It's giving hips. It's giving body. Let us know what y'all feel like in the comments. If you're not out on your date tonight, let us be your Valentine, girl, your Palantine, your Galentine, whatever you need it to be. Guys, we're so thrilled to be back, and we will be tuning in next week with Lola and a guest co-host while I am out in Korea. Until then, y'all, we will see you next time. Bye.